I'd like to welcome you back to our study in the book of 2 Corinthians. Today we're in 2 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, verse number 13. Now the Apostle Paul is not holding anything back. He is just really confronting a lot of the ideology of the Corinthian church. And one of the major ideologies that Paul confronts is this ideology that you have to have all understanding, all knowledge, all wisdom, that they put such a great importance on wisdom and understanding. And Paul calls himself, he says, I'm foolish. I became foolish for your sake. And then he goes on and he lists the signs of an apostle. And by the way, there are a lot of people out today that are calling themselves apostles, and they just simply do not have the signs of an apostle. Just because someone comes by and prophesies to you that you are an apostle does not make you an apostle. And Paul lists in verse number 12 the signs of an apostle. And then he moves on now. And Paul has talked about his weakness. The weakness to the Corinthians was something you didn't want to ever admit, but Paul has admitted it. But now he moves on and he says these powerful, powerful words of confrontation. For in what respect were you treated as inferior to the rest of the churches? What's Paul saying? Paul's saying, I didn't treat you as inferior. I didn't treat you like you were low class. Now remember what has transpired in the life of the Corinthian church. They were immoral. They were messed up. They were confused. They were everything that a church should not be, basically. But Paul said, you know what? I didn't treat you like that. And he says, For in what respect were you treated as inferior to the rest of the churches? Tell me. Now, come on. Now tell me, how did I treat you as inferior? How did I treat you like you were a low-class church even though you were a low-class church? And Paul is getting right in the face of these people, and he's saying, okay, now you tell me. In what respect? In what way did I treat you as inferior? And then he goes on and he said, except that I myself did not become a burden to you. He said, this is the only way that I didn't treat you like other churches. The other churches, I became a burden to them. The other churches, I expected them to take care of me when I got to town. And Paul said, you know what, with you Corinthians, I didn't become a burden to you. And when he's talking about being a burden, he's talking about really about the financial situation. I didn't come and say, you know what, I need so much money to preach. I need this and I need that and I need this. Paul said, I didn't come as a burden to you. I treated you different than the other churches in that I didn't come demanding that you take care of me. And by the way, you know what? The Apostle Paul actually went to work. When he got to Corinth, he was traveling alone. He found Aquila and Priscilla, and he went in and he began to make tents. He began to work for a living, and then on Saturday he would go and teach in the temple. And then on Monday, he would go back and work. Probably on Sunday, actually. He would go back and work, and he would work through the week, and then he would go to the temple and preach. He was never a burden to the Corinthian church. So he says, I did not become a burden to you. And then he says something that might amaze you, but he says, forgive me this wrong. What's Paul saying? He's saying, I should have been a burden to you. Now again, Paul's writing to the Corinthian church, probably if not the wealthiest city that Paul has gone to up to this point. It was one of the most wealthy cities that Paul has ministered in. And he said, you know what? I should have come to you and I should have said, okay, you need to take care of me. You need to meet my physical needs. He said, I was wrong in doing that. The Corinthian church gave Paul more trouble than any other church. Why? Now listen to me. Because the Corinthians were not invested into the Apostle Paul. Today you're listening to a podcast, and this podcast is made possible because people have invested not only into this ministry but into you. Let me ask you this question. What investment are you making? You see, when you invest into your pastor, you know what? There becomes a bond between you and that pastor. And that bond says, you know what? I want to do everything to not cause trouble for that pastor, or not cause trouble in my church. I don't want to be a troublemaker in this church. Let me just say this. In almost 50 years of full-time ministry, there's one thing I realize. The people that cause the most trouble in the church are the people that are not invested into the church. They haven't given anything. They don't give their time, they don't give their money, they don't give their talents. All they do is sit back and cause trouble. And Paul says, you know what? To this church that caused me more harm and more trouble than any other church, he said, I was wrong. You should have invested into this ministry. Now, I'm just going to leave that right there. Some of you have probably already turned me off, but that's all right. 2 Corinthians 12:14. Here, for this third time, I am ready to come to you. What's Paul saying? I'm coming to you for the third time. The first time was when the Apostle Paul came and preached the gospel. The second time that the Apostle Paul came, we know very little about it, but we do know that it was a short period of time. It says in 2 Corinthians, the 2nd chapter, verse 1, he says, For I determined this for your sake, that I would not come to you again in sorrow. Paul saying that when I came to you the second time, I came to you in sorrow. I came to you because I was hearing all of this stuff, and you didn't want to listen to me, and you caused me great sorrow. And now the third time, Paul is coming to them, and he's coming to them to take and receive this offering and to minister to the church. Now let's go on into verse number 14. And I will not be a burden to you. In other words, he's saying, I'm not going to charge you. I'm not taking this offering for myself, I'm taking it for the saints in Jerusalem. I will not be a burden to you, for I do not seek what's yours. I don't want your money, but I do seek you. I'm looking for you. I want to help you. I want to be part in your life. I want you to partner with me. I want you to walk with me. And then he goes on, he says, for the children are not responsible to save for their parents, but parents for the children. Paul is saying, I'm your father. And I'm gonna do everything I can to save for you, to minister to you, to bring to you whatever you need, whether that's a call for repentance or a call for rejoicing, or no matter what it is, I'm coming to you to minister to you. What a wonderful, wonderful example the Apostle Paul was of a man of God and of an apostle of Christ. Thank you for watching.